All right, welcome to the continuation of lesson 2.6. So now we're going to talk about composite shapes. And what a composite shape is two or more shapes combined. All right, so it's two or more. Oh, that says more. That's terrible writing, even for me. Two or more shapes combined. Okay, this means they can either be added or they can also be subtracted. So for example, my personal favorite composite shape is the elementary school house. Right, so you got a rectangle and a triangle. But it doesn't have to be that. You can also have a composite shape that's something like this. So you could have a circle with a piece missing, kind of like a pizza missing a piece. You could have a rectangle with a shape cut out of it, with something missing. Right? You could have, in a previous question, we saw the running track or the hockey rink with semicircles on the end. These are all composite shapes. So while we're on the topic, I want to talk about trapezoids. And just as a reminder, what a trapezoid is a quadrilateral that has two sides parallel and two sides not. So it's a quadrilateral that has two sides parallel, and two sides not. So for example, I could have two parallel sides, so these are parallel, and these sides are not. So if you continued these sides, they would eventually cross. So they're not parallel. Now the reason why I group trapezoids with composite shapes is, as you can see, it's kind of like a triangle with the top cut off. Or, if you wanted to look at it differently, whoops. So if you wanted to look at your trapezoid a little differently, you could see it as two triangles and a rectangle in the middle. So there's so many ways to view it. However, there is a handy-dandy formula for it. So unlike the other shapes we talked about, I'm just going to hook you up with the formula for a trapezoid. Okay, so I'm going to just quickly draw us a trapezoid here. That's pretty close. All right, and we're going to label some of the sides. So we're going to call one side A. So I'm going to call this top side A, and this bottom side B. So A and B are parallel to each other. And the distance between them, we're going to call the height. Now, that doesn't mean that so if you had it looking like this, remember that A and B are always the sides parallel. You can still have it sideways, and the height is the distance between them, okay? So that doesn't change the lettering. It doesn't mean that height now goes up and it doesn't mean that height now goes this way. No, that's false. Get that out. All right, so height is the distance between the two sides that are parallel. Let's get everything back. There we go. Cool. So the way the formula for this works, for area, we have half times, come on, pen, times A plus B, in brackets, brackets are important, times height. All right, if you don't like this formula, remember we always know that half can be written as 0.5 times A plus B and times height. If you don't like that formula, you could say area equals A plus B in brackets times height, then divided by 2. All of these are the same. Pick one that you like. Now, I'm also pretty sure that this is not on your formula sheet. If it's not, pick the one you like and add it. Do it right now. Pause it, pull out your purple sheet, and add this one, so you don't have to be digging through your notes all the time. So let's do an example using this formula. Okay, example numero 4. A piece of fabric for a quilt is pictured below. What is the area of this piece of fabric here? First thing we have to do is label it. Actually, that's the second thing we're going to do. First thing I want to do is write down my formula, so I don't have to jump back and forth between slides. I'm going to use the decimal one because I know lots of you guys like decimals. So half times A plus B. Ooh, that's funky. That's a bracket. A plus B, close bracket, times height. Right, that's my formula. Now I'm going to label this thing. So remember, A and B were the parallel sides. So I'm going to call this A, call this B. And height was the distance between the two. So not this side length, but the distance between. It's this distance here, which is 4 inches. That's my height. So we're going to sub that into our formula here. Area, oh, I'm just making a mess. Clean that up. Area equals half times, we said A was 4 plus B was 10, and then times our height, which was 4. So super duper important. Remember our order of operations. You must do what's in the brackets first. Super important, okay? So I'm going to do that on its own step. So the half is still there, haven't touched it. I'm just doing inside the brackets. 4 plus 10 is 14. Alrighty. Now I can do this, all this in my calculator in one step. I want to do it in my head, doing some mental math first, and then we'll redo it, okay? So I'm going to do half times 14. That's the same thing as 14 divided by 2. So that's 7. So that's just this step here. So now don't forget I still have to do the times 4. 7 times 4, that's 28. And since we're in inches, that's inches squared. That's my answer. Now, if you don't like doing these steps, you can just go straight from here into your calculator. Right, so 0.5 times 14 times 4 equals 28. All right, cool, cool, cool. Now, let's do a composite shape. That's my favorite one, the elementary school house. All right, Anita here is planning to paint a mural on the back of her garage, which looks like this. What is the area that Anita can paint? So I got to figure out the area of this thing. So you'll notice I have a rectangle and a triangle. So the area of the house is equal to the area of the rectangle plus the area of the triangle. Fair enough. So let's do the easy one first. Let's do the rectangle. So the area of the rectangle, well, I know the area of a rectangle is just length times width. Okay, so that's just going to be 24 times 8. All right, so 24 times 8, 192. All right, we're going to save that for later. Now let's do the triangle. Now for the triangle, we need to know the base, which is the same as the bottom here, so that's 24, And now I need to figure out also the height, which I'm not given. But I know the height of the whole house, or sorry, the whole garage, is 12 feet, and the height of the rectangle is 8 feet. So the triangle, just the height of the triangle, is going to be the leftover. All right, so 12 minus 8, that's 4. So my height equals 4. Beauty. So the area of a triangle, that is, I want to use the formula we don't always use, base times height and divide by 2. You can use the decimal one, whatever formula you want, as long as it's the right one for a triangle. So my base was 24. My height was 4. Now I'm going to divide by 2. All right, so I can do this all in one nice step on my calculator here. So 24 times 4, then divide by 2. Bam, that's 48. Alrighty. So remember this part here. I'm not going to rewrite it. Ooh, maybe I'm going to have to. Alright, so this formula here. So remember, I want to figure out the area of my house. Sorry, I mean garage. So the area of the rectangle, that was 192. Plus the area of my triangle, which is 48. So my total area of this composite shape is simply 140 feet squared. Here, if you don't trust me, I'll punch that into my calculator just to double check. 192 plus 48 gives me a major screw up on my part. Of course, my number couldn't get smaller. Still the mental math. 240 feet squared. Silly mistake on my part. That's why we check our work. Alrighty. So now you've got a bunch. Oh, I'm just going to do one slide on steps on how to solve a composite shape area. Alright. So when in doubt, you can jump back to these. 1. Identify which shapes you have. Alright. 2. Calculate those areas. Just like we did with the garage question. Right, 3. Add them up. And 4. Subtract. What's an R? Any holes. So we didn't have that in our last question, but it's just one extra step. So if you have, for example, something like, let's say we have our garage here, but we have also a door in it. Right, so this piece here is missing. So you would add up your triangle plus your big rectangle, and then you'd subtract the part that's missing. You would subtract this area. Okay, so just one more step, which you will have to do on some of the practice problems. So tackle these practice problems. Ask me questions if you have them. Work your hardest, check your answers, all that good stuff. Have fun.